You show up to some science show and drop a line that shocks 300 billion people worldwide. Oxygen is actually a toxic substance. Without oxygen, humans could live 1,000 years easy. The crowd, they laugh like you're completely insane. Everyone thinks you're chasing clout with fake science. But right there in the studio, you keep breaking down the oxygen facts. Back before the Cambrian period in ancient times, Earth had zero oxygen in the atmosphere. Life back then didn't need oxygen at all to survive and reproduce. These organisms got labeled anaerobic microbes. These anaerobic creatures lived forever, anywhere from centuries to millions of years. Then later, Earth went through something called the Great Oxidation Event. Massive amounts of algae started photosynthesizing, pumping insane levels of oxygen into the atmosphere. This shift wiped out tons of ancient species that couldn't handle oxygen's toxicity. The survivors had to adapt to this new environment, slowly evolving into what we see today. But the cost was their lifespan got slashed. As you keep going deeper, more people get completely hooked. Some even pull up research to fact-check your claims. Turns out everything you said checks out perfectly. More and more viewers watching live start questioning reality. Meanwhile, back in the office, the station chief and deputy chief watch you dive even deeper and start feeling something ain't right. Shouldn't he get back on topic? Why is this going completely off the rails? Just as they're confused, old Ian calls again. Good news. Ratings just jumped past 2%. This dang Changjiang guy is absolutely crushing it. Looking up at the screen, where you're still going off. Guan Xining's mouth twitches a few times. Air is what we need to survive. And now someone's about to flip that whole idea. Right then, you write 4 massive words on the blackboard. Age of decline. Everyone should know this term right. As you drop more hardcore info on old Ying's monitor screen, ratings are climbing at an insane speed. More and more people in Licheng are switching channels to your science show. From kids to elderly folks, everyone's locked in on your breakdown. Age of decline. I see that phrase all the time in novels. Isn't it because spiritual energy vanished so nobody could cultivate immortality? Sounds like storytelling, but why does it kinda make sense though? Gotta say, your vivid explanation has everyone completely mesmerized, making them super interested in this wild new perspective. Age of decline is actually a concept from our ancient civilizations. From way back, they realized oxygen was harmful because it cut humanity's original lifespan of hundreds or thousands of years down to just a few decades now. Originally immortal-like lifespans got reduced. That's why it's called the Age of Decline. At this point, you might be wondering, why does oxygen cause such massive damage to living things? In the live stream, you point at the experiment table beside you. Next, we're doing an experiment to show everyone just how terrifying oxygen really is. It even controls to some degree our aging, sickness and death. As your words land, the director notices ratings exploded up 3 percentage points. Looks like a record is about to get shattered. Ratings jumped a full 3 points, and the momentum keeps building, which means your science show is causing a massive stir across Licheng at lightning speed. Your claims are just too mind-blowing. At the same time, Guan Xining coldly glances at Gu Jiansong beside her. We're in a tough spot now. Higher the ratings, bigger the exposure. If you can't give a solid explanation, Deputy Chief Gu Jiansong already has sweat forming on his forehead. How do I explain this? Mainstream science worldwide agrees. Oxygen is an essential element for sustaining life. People can go 7 days without food, 3 days without water, but without breathing, you won't last 3 minutes. Your organs will fail and you'll be gone from oxygen deprivation. He wipes the sweat from his forehead, barely managing to say, Chief Guan, let's just see what results Deng Changjiang gets from his experiment first. Meanwhile, in a biological science lab at a top university in Yanjing, 60-something biology professor Sun Jiqing just finished his day's work, turns on the TV, and happens to land on Licheng City TV's science show. The subtitle on screen instantly grabs his attention. TV shows these days chasing views can even come up with anti-common sense topics like this. When he sees you walking toward the experiment table, his frown deepens. Labs are serious places. Experiments are usually only done in dedicated laboratories. Never expected to see this attempted on a TV science show. Let me see what kind of evidence you can actually produce. Sun Jiqing puts down the remote with curiosity and keeps watching. After you prep the experiment equipment, it's like you're back in your research days, calmly picking up various tools. Beakers, microscope, cell slides, all laid out perfectly. You tell the camera, let's start with a simple oxygen-free radical conversion experiment. I've prepared some human skin cells through sunlight exposure, air contact, and reaction with water. Well, observe. As you speak, you begin the experiment. Everyone gets completely absorbed in the process. Next, under the microscope, the originally intact skin cells, under the influence of sunlight, air and water, show obvious changes. Electrons gradually separate one by one. The originally complete skin cells seem affected by some force, tightening up, gradually dying. This phenomenon is called the oxygen-free radical moment, happening everywhere in our bodies. In simple terms, this is what we usually call metabolism. But you know what? Back in ancient times before oxygen appeared, ancient organisms' metabolism was extremely slow. Growing from youth to adulthood usually took over 100 years. Now that process is cut down to just 18 years. In reality, human aging, sickness and death are all connected to oxygen-free radicals. You could say it's the main culprit harming our health. At the root, it all comes from oxygen. At the experiment table, you set down the skin cell sample and face the camera again. If you still think oxygen doesn't harm the body, think about this. Why do all oxidation reactions bring negative effects? Whether it's us humans or other things on Earth, like fruits, vegetables or metals, even smaller basic elements like hydrogen, carbon, can't escape the oxidation process. Aging, sickness, death, all tied to oxygen. When you drop this perspective, perspective. Live stream viewers fall into deep thought because what you're saying makes total sense. Due to oxygen-free radicals, skin loosens, organs fail, movements slow down. Isn't that exactly what aging looks like? After entering the 21st century, tons of skincare products started pushing antioxidation claims. Antioxidation is basically anti-aging. Could oxygen really be a slow-acting poison? Just like this host is saying, limiting us to only 70 or 80 years. More and more people get hit by your words and start thinking. In the city TV station conference room, complete silence. Guan Xining and Gu Jiansong exchange glances. Is everything he said actually true? Guan Xining glances at you on screen. Can't help but swallow. He's still waiting to see how you explain all this. Didn't expect things would go even deeper. In a university lab in the capital, authority biology professor Sun Jiqing is already stunned speechless. The points you mentioned are all super convincing, like how oxygen-free radicals really do participate in human metabolism. These side effects constantly destroy normal life systems, causing aging, sickness, death. 60-something Sun Jiqing falls into deep thought. Even so, he still doesn't want to believe oxygen could be this harmful. Right now on the TV screen, you're showing even more related experiments. Like I said earlier, almost every oxidation reaction on Earth produces negative effects, and this has already been proven. Now let's look at some of the most obvious experimental cases. While operating the various equipment in front of you, you explain to the camera your smooth movements. Leave the old scholar watching completely amazed. Technique is too polished, on par with veteran experts who spend years buried in labs. Whether it's taking samples with tweezers or adjusting microscope focus, it's like watching a textbook demonstration. This makes Sun Jiqing hesitate to judge rashly, instead seriously considering the truth in your words. First, let's look at the oxidation process of a cut apple. On the TV screen, you rhythmically slice open a fresh apple, letting it sit exposed to air. Before long, the apple surface starts turning black fast. You explain this phenomenon too. The reason apples change color is simple, mainly due to a substance called polyphenol oxidase, converting certain compounds into new substances, triggering color changes. This phenomenon is most common in natural fruits and vegetables, but what many people don't know is